When I was about 13, I lived in a big house that was about a mile removed from civilization, but surrounded by a thick forest. It felt more remote than it really was. There were no sidewalks and no streetlights, so it wasn't really you would call it, trick-or-treat friendly place. It was too far for a walk on a winding, hilly, pitch-black road between homes. Most kids from our neighborhood went into a crowded downtown on Halloween, and we were so rarely bothered by any outsiders that many of our neighbors didn't really bother buying candy. A ringing doorbell came as a genuine surprise. It did ring, though, a couple of times, mostly early in the night, by neighborhood kids who wanted us to see their costumes before they headed out. We'd hand out our treats and admire their ingenuity, and then lock up and settle in for the night. On this Halloween, we went through the process of turning off lights and making sure everything was secure. It was somewhere between 11 p.m. and midnight, long after trick-or-treating hours. Our Cocker Spaniel was whining, so we opened the front door to let him out one last time. The door swung open, and a full-grown man in a clown costume, complete with a grotesque mask, was standing silently on our porch. The dog saw the enormous clown shoes first, as his head slowly raised to take in the baggy striped pants, the cartoonish necktie, and finally, the hideous face. His haunches slowly lowered, and he peed a giant puddle on the floor. They raced through the house, making sure every door and window was locked. Then they peeped out from behind the living room curtains for several agonizing minutes until the clown turned away and walked into the darkness. I honestly can't remember if they called the police. If I had been in their place, I would have. Why was he here? He was too old for trick-or-treat. He hadn't rung the doorbell. He hadn't knocked. He had just stood on our porch, without a word, staring at the door. We'd only seen him by chance when we let the dog out. What were his plans? He'd arrived on foot, in costume, and never made a sound. We never saw if he had a weapon. Why would he do that? If he were some teenager getting an ill-advised thrill out of just frightening the literal piss out of the locals, would he have been so patient as to wait in utter silence in front of our door that might not be open? He was undoubtedly menacing, but the fact that it was happening on Halloween night introduced a dangerous level of self-doubt to my reactions. Were we overreacting? Is it normal for a man in a clown suit, standing there staring at your front door, on the off chance that you'll open it during the night? It would be years before I saw a few horror movies in which the unsuspecting family was stalked and tortured by people who arrived unannounced in masks at their home in the dead of night. My experience with the clown added a rich dimension of recognition and horror that I've been much happier without. Those films gave me nightmares for months. And the last winter, long after Halloween, we were returning home from a trip, driving along a dark and utterly desolate country road, when suddenly in the headlights illuminated a man standing in the ditch. He was facing us and waved at us as if he had been expecting us all along. He had almost cartoonish hair and makeup. He looked like the character Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town. He had a guitar slung across his back. A fucking guitar. And he was dressed in a country western costume. You'd almost think that he was returning home from a gig and his car had broken down. The trouble with that explanation was that there were only soybean fields for miles. No little towns, no bars. We hadn't passed any stranded vehicle and wouldn't pass another car, operational or otherwise, until we got to the next town 20 miles away. Still, that that self-doubt kicks in. Was he hitchhiking? Was he signaling for help? No, that's the thing. He was standing in the ditch, pointed towards us as if he had known all the time that we were coming, with a wide smile of greeting spread across his heavily made-up face, and a wave to us as we passed. It was a friendly hello wave, not a call for help. I am absolutely sure of that. There was no urgency in his demeanor at all. In a ditch, in the pitch black night, in a soybean field so far from the middle of nowhere that there were no other cars for miles. It was so unsettling that we sped off because we had a young child in the car to protect. The scene was so bizarre and we began to think we'd hallucinated it. When I got home, I told a friend of mine about it. A news director for a radio station in the area. He quickly sent me a screen cap of a dispatch report. 2 motorists advising police of a heavily made-up man with a guitar, jumping from a ditch into the road and running at the cars. So apparently we didn't hallucinate. It terrifies me beyond reason to think that not only do people wander into the darkness like this, and no one knows their true intentions, or whether or not they're harmless, but there are apparently so many of them out there that one person, me, has had 2 late-night run-ins. Who else is out there? What are their plans? Do they rely on Halloween second-guessing to take advantage of our split-second indecisions? The poor Cocker Spaniel, the one who urinated helplessly all over the floor, remained ardent for the rest of his life. Ronald Clark O'Brien was executed in the US after killing his 8-year-old son, Timothy, by poisoning his candy with cyanide on Halloween night in 1974. O'Brien let his 2 children and Timothy's friend have a piece of candy before bed. It was one of those pixie stick things with the beads of sugar inside of the packet. But what was once the innocent piece of candy turned into the death of a young boy. The father from Pasadena, Texas, had taken out a huge life insurance policy on his 2 children. He gave the poison candy to his son and his daughter, but also to 4 other children. Only Timothy ingested the candy and died. O'Brien was executed in March of 1984. I'm sure you've all heard the legend of the Candyman. The legend goes, if you chant Candyman 5 times while looking into a mirror, he will appear covered in blood and bees with a sharp hook made for murder. Well, when news of this headline broke, everyone started calling O'Brien the real-life Candyman. This true story is a friend of mine named Alex. Last Halloween, my friend had a huge Halloween party, and all of our friends were invited. I came early to help her with all the decorations and getting all the snacks and refreshments ready. Around 5:30, we heard a knock at the door. But we weren't expecting anyone yet, because the party wasn't really starting until 8. I told her I would get the door while she finished taping up all of these black and purple and orange streamers. When I came to the door, I could see through the little window, the door, the window that was fixed on the door. I can't remember what it's called. You can see the person on the other side, but it's blurry, so nobody can peek at you. That's what they had, and I could only see the silhouette of a tall person. I knew it couldn't have been any of our friends because none of them were really that tall. So, I opened the door assuming that it was a parent or someone selling something. I was met with a really tall male, who I quickly recognized as my friend's neighbor. Can I help you?" I asked him. He stared at me for a little longer than I would have liked, before he replied with his own question. "Are your parents home?" His voice was deep, and it reminded me of gravel. It was common sense that you never tell anyone that you're the only one home, But I guess at the time, I wasn't really thinking. No, they're not home right now, I told him. Will they be back later? He asked. I nodded even though it was a lie. They wouldn't be back until Monday. After that, he left and I shut the door, walking back into the living room where my friend was. Who was that? She asked me. Your neighbor. He's so creepy. He's always watching us through his window, she told me. What? Seriously? I asked her, not believing it. Yeah, I was outside the other day swimming, and I looked up and saw him staring at me like a freak. Yeah, that's pretty freaking creepy. So we had the party and all that stuff. I was staying over at my friend's house for the whole weekend while her parents were gone. The next day around 9 or so in the morning, we heard another knock on the door. I went to the bathroom while she went to open the door. When I was finished in the bathroom, I walked downstairs to see my friend sitting on the couch with 2 police officers. Apparently my friend's neighbor had done something, assaulted someone, one of the people that came to our party, and now he was missing. They were questioning everyone who came to the party to try to find out where he was. To this day, I still don't know where he is or what happened to him. I don't know if the police ever found him after I moved from Sweden, but I know that the girl that he assaulted is going to be scared forever. Now, before you leave the video, I wanted to let you guys know that you guys should definitely check out Sunday's post. It's gonna be another collab, and I know all of you like him. Trust me, I fangirl over him sometimes. But don't tell him that, okay? Just don't tell him that. But other than that, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy this and you would like to hear more Halloween stories, make sure to let me know down in the comment section. Make sure to like, comment, and if you're new to this channel and enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe. We're doing nothing but growing. We just hit 700. It's only up from here, hopefully. But if you're new to here, and also if you would like to check out my links in the description, my Twitter, Instagram, and even my Gmail if you would like to submit a story. I would love to tell a subscriber story. Trust me, like any kind. I don't know, it's so late right now. It's like 2 a.m. I'm just rambling. I apologize. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. And other than that, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one. You guys should really check out Sunday's video. I promise you, you're going to love my guest. I love him. That sounds wrong. Okay, bye.